This is the Prep Report with Mike Hutchins and Robin Francis, an in-depth look at high school sports in the West Tennessee area. Well, it's playoff time in basketball, and there is no doubt that we're getting down to the Final Four in districts. Some districts are playing on Thursday and Friday night to get down to that Final Four and getting to who qualifies for region. A lot of people look at the district championship, and it's great to win district championships, Mike, but the one thing I think that a lot of people also have to realize, once you get to that region tournament, anything can happen, and that's when a lot of runs take place.
You're right, Robin, and we've talked so many times before. The postseason format is so forgiving in the state of Tennessee. You can lose 3 times and still win a state championship in basketball. And it's especially forgiving in a district tournament. Once you get to the Final Four, you can lose the semifinals and the consolation game and still move on. You can lose one time in the regional tournament and championship game and still move on to the sectional round. But we're weeding out some of the teams that we knew weren't really postseason worthy. We're getting to some of the better clubs. We're going to have some good matchups, I think, in these district tournament championship games. And moving on to next week in the regional tournament events, you're going to have some teams I think are really hot right now, really dangerous, that may have not finished at the top of the district standings, but they're very, very capable of making some runs deep into the first part of March.
And South Fulton boys, I think, are one of those that surprised Dresden the other night in their first-round elimination game. They are able to move on to the Friday night game with Union City, but they are already into the region tournament. One of those upsets already taking place.
Yeah, guaranteed themselves of at least 3 more games. The region semis on Friday, either the championship or the consolation on Monday, and those games are at Gleason High School. And then the first round of the regional tournaments, and those will be at satellite sites. The semifinals and finals will move on to Trinity Christian Academy. They're in Jackson. And South Fulton avenged 2 regular season losses, Rob, into Dresden. Had a nice game of the night. I thought Bryce McFarland came off the bench and gave him a good lift. Hit a couple of 3-pointers there in the early going for South Fulton after they had fallen behind 13-5. And then I think you look at Carter Hodges, had a nice game as well. Finished with a game-high 20 points and really made some big shots from the perimeter when South Fulton was in an iffy situation.
In that region or in that district, it is all Union City undefeated. Moved up in the rankings as well for the week. Tornadoes playing really well, over 20 wins. Once again, we talked about that on last show. But to be able to win the district and move into the region as a number 1 seed, that is big for Shane Cisco's club.
Absolutely so, and a huge win last week in the regular season finale on Friday, beating a Dyer County team that's been ranked all season long in the AAA rankings, Robin, and beat them handily by double figures on their home court, avenging an earlier loss to Dyer County there at Union City back in November. And again, you want to be playing well this time of the year. They've won 9 in a row now, and you want to be playing your best basketball in February and March. They've been challenged. They played a nice schedule. They've gone off and played some bigger folks. They've not lost to a single A team in the state of Tennessee. And the number 1 seed, as you mentioned, which gains you automatically a berth into the semifinals and that spot in the regional tournament. So really there's not a lot of pressure, Robin, for the next couple of games. Obviously, you want to win. You want to be a district champion. You want to have the right, especially to host that first-round region game with those satellite sites. So, again, Union City, I think, far and away the best of District 13A this year.
Yeah, you got Greenfield and Bradford also in the semis as well. 14A, Middleton finished first. They get a bye. The rest of the teams have to play in, but you have your other 3, and then a surprise for several other teams. Gibson County struggled this year. I think the thing that caught me by surprise is winless Halls. What in the world has happened to Winston Jarrett's club down at Tigerland?
Well, I had a senior-laden team last year when they went to the sub-state or sectional round, upsetting Union City, Robin, in the semifinals, and lost a lot of points, lost a lot of rebounds, lost a lot of size on the interior. And we really knew that this was going to be somewhat of a rebuilding year for Coach Jarrett, who's been there seemingly for ages there at Halls. We did not think they would struggle this bad. And, when you look at these 2 single-A districts, on the boys' side, I think it's going to be a heck of a region tournament. I really do. And you talk about Union City and you talk about Middleton, which earned that district championship, Robin, by beating Humboldt twice over a 5-day span last week. So certainly it's a championship that was well-deserved by Middleton. You've got Humboldt, you've got Peabody and West Miller. They're kind of lurking in the weeds. And don't sleep on Trinity Christian. I think there's a good squad right there that's very capable of even going on the road in the first round of the region tournament and having some good success.
And Peabody owns a win over Middleton as well.
A big win. It was 25, 26 points.
Yeah, it was sort of a shocking win, but one of those things that happens occasionally. 13AA, Dyersburg, Milan, Crockett County, South Gibson. They're playing on Friday night down at Obion County Central. One of the first times in a long time no Obion Central or Westview past the first round in this tournament.
Yeah, the upset of this tournament so far on Tuesday night when Milan comes on the road and beats Martin at Westview 67-64. It was a 4-5 matchup, much like South Fulton and Dresden in single A, but still it was considered an upset. A Milan team that had single-digit wins, Robin, coming into that game on Tuesday night, and they played really well, shot the ball well, and made some plays that were critical down the stretch. I think it's going to be a nice atmosphere there at Obion. Obviously, you'd like to have your teams in there, the Rebels, on Tuesday night, and we've well chronicled and documented their struggles all season long with the suspensions. I thought they put up a good fight at South Gibson on Tuesday night, got in a 20-point hole in the first half and just really could never dig their way out. Reed Logan had 20, Jackson Crane had 16 in that game, but again, they only dressed 9 kids, Robin. They had no size inside, and I thought South Gibson really took great advantage of that, and even though Obion, I thought, played hard, played with a lot of grit, a lot of intensity all season, and especially in the face of that adversity, they just couldn't overcome the talent discrepancy that those suspensions left them with.
Yeah, 11A is being played at Bethel, McKenzie, and Huntington on Saturday night for their championship. Clarksburg and West Carroll in their consolation. In 11A girls, it's Huntington McKenzie as well for the Friday night championship, West Carroll and Clarksburg. Huntington's ruled that district. They went undefeated through the season. McKenzie's put up some good numbers, though.
Yeah, we've talked about the Greenfields over the year, Robin. We've talked about Gleason and Dresden. We've talked about Peabody on the girls' side. We've talked about a couple of the other good teams. And Huntington, very quietly, Robin, just an outstanding season. Only one loss at the Greenfield. I think 22-1 going into the championship game this weekend. They're a little bit more athletic than they have been in the past. In the past, they've kind of been big and lumbersome inside and been able to get the ball and score close to the basket, but they've had trouble on the perimeters. They're a little bit better athletically right now, and this is a team I think that could be a dark horse heading into the tournaments.
14A, I think Peabody surprised a lot of people by claiming that number 1 seed. They and Middleton, Gibson County, and TCA all play tonight in the semifinals. 13A, Union City, Greenfield, Dresden, Gleason. They're all making rounds for the region tournament. They all qualify. Union City had not been playing well in that playing game the other night, but come up with a big win over South Fulton. That was huge for Eddie Suitors Club.
It was. They'd split the regular season meetings. Robin, South Fulton had won by double figures on Union City's floor about 10 nights earlier, and I thought the play of Jada Williams on Monday night, a freshman who has a tremendous amount of progress to be made and a lot of promise as well. Had 20 points, made 12 of 15 free throws, and that was the key. We've talked so many times when you get into the postseason play, you got to be able to handle a basketball, Robert, and you have to be able to make foul shots. Union City, 20 of 24 Monday night against South Fulton. That was the difference in the game.
And a lot of people like to point out that they're struggling this year. Union City girls are struggling. Then we go back and look at the recent results in region tournaments, 7 of the last 8 years. That has not always been the case for the Union City Lady Tornadoes.
Those lean years that we experienced a couple of decades ago, Robin, where Union City girls were basically a laughingstock as a program in rural West Tennessee, had a couple of 2-win years, rarely, if ever, got out of the district tournament. And it all changed when Eddie Suter arrived, and 7 out of 8 years, as you mentioned, on to the regional tournament, that marvelous 37-0 undefeated run to the state championship, the 2 other state tournament appearances there. So, again, those folks who are complaining right now with, well, they're not very good, they've only won 10 games, they've lost 18, they need to have a little greater memory, can think back on some of the days when they really struggled with that program.
And it's a young club, and they're getting better with each improvement of each game out. Westview still the class in 13AA. They and Obion Central, Dyersburg, and Crockett County are the 4 moving on to the Region 7AA tournament. I think the Lady Chargers with Brian Haskins, always one to be reckoned with, but Dyersburg playing well as well.
Yeah, no questions. And, we talk about the inside-outside combination at Westview and how they seemingly have a little bit of everything. I think the thing I'm looking forward to, Robin, is if you get a Dyersburg-Westview finals, and we saw them play twice over a period of 3 days because of the snow and the inclement weather a couple of weeks ago. That second game, you saw Joel Ayers kind of revert back to his Gleason days a little bit and play the half-court game. It was a game in the 20s and the 30s. That's going to happen in postseason basketball at times. You're not always going to be able to make shots. It'll be real interesting to see how Westview handles that tempo and if they're able to remain patient and handle the fact that, hey, we can't run up and down the floor, we can't use our depth. every possession is going to count. Every possession is going to matter. And we've seen Coach Ayers and his wife Ashley have great success at Gleason and in Dyersburg with that style.
Now, last week we had Shane Jacobs and Peabody self-imposing sanctions because of a 8th grade signing day, I guess, misinterpretation of the rules. I still say that, Shane, bless your heart, you went too hard on yourself. But now it's South Gibson. The Hornet football program has done the same thing. Another type of signing day, maybe a time to eliminate the signing day and just have, when you're coming over to play, this is what you expect. Is that legal? Are you able to talk with the kids?
Well, I think, to the letter of the law, there were violations, yes. However, common sense has to enter the equation at some time, both with those who are violating the rules and those who are administering punishment. And I noticed South Gibson, they had some of the same punishments for their own self-reporting. They're going to cut down one of their scrimmages. They're not going to practice the last week of the summer before you put pads on, but they did not implement hey, we're going to not allow any of our freshmen to play their freshman year on the varsity level. And I think, Robin, from what I'm getting from some of the folks from the other end of the state and from the middle part of Tennessee, that may be a part of Peabody's punishment that may go away. I think Bernard Childress is going to have a little meeting there. They're going to talk about that. Again, I think you cooler heads, common sense has to prevail a little bit there. At South Gibson, very similar to what Peabody did. And again, you wonder if you took inventory and went around to all the different programs, not only in rural West Tennessee, but in other parts of the state, how many times this has gone on and gone unreported because social media didn't have it out there, or
right.
Someone wasn't paying attention to it. And I think you really open up Pandora's box if you're going to expect everybody to self-report themselves, because that's not going to happen.
And coaches having 2-year bans on social media.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't know you could live without it.
Well,
is that possible?
You can't put your 7-year-old son's birthday picture on Facebook because you had an illegal signing day, I guess.
This is, I guess now coaches really need to rely on the TSSAA and call and say, hey, we're thinking about this. Is this okay?
Better safe than sorry, I guess. Again, I think a little tough punishment. I really do. And I do understand when you have multiple feeder programs, you have 7, 8, 9. You remember back when Obion County Central had schools at Hornbeak, and they had schools at Reeves and Dixie. And, if you went out and did it then, and had 7, when you had 7 or 8 schools that were feeding into your high school program, that's one thing. They're all off campus. But again, with Peabody and basically at Rosenwall Middle School there in Trenton, I think they're all pretty much expected, and most of them all do go to Trenton High School.
It's on campus.
I just don't understand there. And again, there is a rule, and it must be followed.
I guess so. And that's the thing that the TSSAA, if they don't enforce that one, who's to say that they have to enforce another? You can't pick and choose, and that would come up in a different type of situation.
Somebody's always keeping score.
Yeah, there's a lawyer out there for everything. That's what I'm told. You've been listening to The Prep Report with Robin Francis and Mike Hutchins. Listen each week as Robin and Mike bring you exclusive information on what's going on in West Tennessee high school sports. For sponsorship information, call 731-446-7496.